Senator John Kennedy, Republican of Louisiana and member of the Judiciary Committee, is in focus now. Senator Kennedy, it's always easy to say what you might do when it's absolutely necessary, and maybe they could have toned it down before when it was also absolutely necessary.
Well, this entire situation, Harris, is it's really bad. You know, I think most Americans have a moral compass, but sometimes we land in different places on tough issues. That's in part why we have the institution of the United States Supreme Court to tell us what the law is. And most Americans say, okay, whether I agree or disagree, I accept the result. When the draft abortion opinion leaked, I was appalled. I was also naive. I thought most of my colleagues in Washington, D.C. would be appalled that the institution of the court was so undermined, but they weren't. They immediately, not everybody, but many members of the left immediately attacked the Supreme Court, both as an institution and personally. And the mantra was burn the place down, celebrate the leaker, intimidate the justices, kill the filibuster, pack the court. I was naive. I'm still appalled at that. I mean, Senator Schumer did go on the steps of the Supreme Court. I was there. And he named two justices by name, one of whom was Justice Kavanaugh. He said, if you don't vote like I want you to vote on abortion, you will reap the whirlwind, citing the book of Hosea in the Old Testament. You will suffer wrath. So I mean, if you ask yourself, where did this whack job who wanted to kill Justice Kavanaugh get the idea of doing that? I mean, just kind of look around at this place in Washington, D.C.
You know, you just gave us a primer in the power of words when there are some among us who are weak enough to yield to them in the most violent ways, potentially. I want to move to this, more words. The Wall Street Journal now out with an op-ed. And here it is. This is a quote. If America is more polarized than at any point since the Civil War, as progressives often claim, then the political class needs to take the risk of violence more seriously. Your reaction?
I think that's true. I think that's absolutely true. But it's not just, how can I put this, Harris? It's not just violence that people are worried about. I think most Americans right now are discouraged. They feel like their government and this place called Washington, D.C. doesn't care about them. They feel like D.C. has let them down. They feel like American people feel like their lives and their futures don't matter to the people in leadership positions up here. And the American people are worried about violence. They're worried about crime. They're worried about inflation. They're worried about the border. They're worried about their kids' education after the schools were all locked down for long periods of time. They're worried about their health care. And those issues are not being addressed. The issues that moms and dads worry about when they lie down to sleep at night and can't. Yes, violence is one of the issues, and we're trying to address it. The mass shootings. I'm disappointed that half of the mass shootings that are so abhorrent to the American people are not being addressed. We're trying to address the mass shooting by these young, alienated, criminal, crazy kids in the basement. But what about the mass shootings by gangs throughout America? We ought to be trying to do something about that.
Look, well. I talk about how many mass shootings happen every weekend in places like Chicago, particularly that city, because we've seen so much. And you're right about that. That has to become part of the focus as well. How to reach out to those people and share information about them when we know it's coming. Potentially, maybe we can make a difference on a whole host of different levels. I want to get to this. Because I do have a question about why the January 6th committee doesn't look more like the 9/11 committee, if in fact we are worried about getting to the bottom of things. So that committee is ramping up expectations for its first public hearing. It begins in prime time tonight. A spokesman saying that the primetime event will be packed with new video, audio, and other information proving that former President Trump was at the heart of the attack. I don't know, Senator, if we need an event. What we do need, maybe, is the kind of hearing that gave us answers after 9/11. They're calling it a production. It's expected to be slick and dramatic with the former television news executive at the helm. Republicans roundly ripping the effort as partisan, as a witch hunt. Let's watch that, and then I'll come to you.
Okay.
This committee is not about seeking the truth. They are scrambling to change the headlines, praying that the nation will focus on their partisan witch hunt.
Nancy Pelosi continues to politicize January 6th while ignoring things like high gas prices, inflation that's out of control, a border crisis.
She discredited the sham committee before it even started.
And I think the American people have figured it out, but their focus on attacking their political opponents is so strong, they don't care about the rules.
Senator Kennedy, your reaction.
Well, I'm going to say it again. I think most Americans are very discouraged right now. They're worried about inflation and crime and inflation and the border.
Inflation
and
twice.
And
Yes.
inflation and their kids' education. I'm not saying that what happened on January 6th wasn't repugnant. It was. If you look up the word repugnant in the dictionary, there's a picture of January 6th. I don't know a single American who's proud of what happened that day. And the people who broke into our Capitol are being seriously punished, and they should be. Now, if Speaker Pelosi, and Speaker Pelosi is the House, wants to conduct an investigation, that's her business. I think she would have been better served if she had allowed the Republican minority to nominate their own members, so we would have had more of a balanced playing field. I think it would have given the investigation more credibility. I understand now that she's going to hold primetime hearings. They're going to be produced by a former major television executive.
Yes.
I'm sure they're going to try to make it look like CSI Miami so that the ratings will be high. That's their business. But I'm telling you that what I think people are worried about when they lie down to sleep at night and can't.
Yeah. You mentioned inflation 3 times. That's because no doubt you know from talking to constituents in your own state and what the polling is showing against President Biden is that people are losing faith and have lost faith in him and his ability to
Well, it's gutting the American people.
It's
Harris.
an extra tax on all of us.
It's destroying the American dream. And we have to address it. And it looks to me like the Biden administration has just given up. I heard Secretary Yellen say the other day, geez, I'm sorry. I know I told you it was transitory, but it's going to be with us a while. And I don't have a solution. I sure admire the problem, but I don't have a solution. So just get used to it. The American people deserve better than that.
Okay, maybe we just need to get rid of her then. We got to find somebody who can do the job.
Well,
I mean, an apology is nice, but it's only manipulation if you don't change your actions.
I'm not saying this about the Treasury Secretary specifically, but I'm kind of wondering, when is President Biden going to start firing people?
Well, he said
when's
he would,
going to
didn't
start
he?
firing people?
Senator, we certainly didn't hear any of what your questions are getting to from the president last night, because 418 days he hasn't sat down with anybody, and his first shot to do that was with Jimmy Kimmel, who I think is probably a very nice comedian. We needed a journalist to take a stab at that. Sir, I'm going to bring you back.
Okay, thanks, Harris.
Thank you so very much for being in focus. Always good to see you.
Thank you.
The Biden